In ancient Greek mythology, there were 12 gods: Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Ares, Hephaestus, Aphrodite, Hermes, and Hestia. They were called Olympians because they lived in Mount Olympus. They were immortal, but looked and behaved like humans. There were also gigantic beings known as titans and hybrid beings known as demigods that were a mixture between a god and a human. But what if there is something far darker about the Greek gods and the other creatures of Greek mythology? Perhaps the most well-known story in the Bible is that of the rebellion against God, between Satan and his angels and Michael and his angels. In this story, Satan and his angels were ultimately defeated and sent to Earth. Interestingly, these particular angels had a huge desire to be worshipped as gods, and we are told when they were casted to Earth, they accomplished just that. Humans began to worship these deities, even making idols for them. This very thing angered God so much that he said this: "Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of any that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me." Fallen angels have an eerie similarity with Greek gods, and gods of other cultures as well. The first major similarity is explained to us in one of the forgotten books of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch elaborates deeper into who the angels actually were in the Book of Genesis. But when we're told about their giant offsprings, things begin to get eerie. We're told that angels, known as the Watchers, had massive offsprings with human women. These beings were giants, and they are known as the Nephilim. This is extremely similar to the story of how demigods in Greek mythology came to be. As I've mentioned before, demigods are created when a god or goddess has a child with a human being. This is the very same sequence that is required in order for a Nephilim giant to be made. A prime example of a demigod in Greek mythology is Hercules. He is the most popular demigod in Greek mythology, and most likely you've heard of him, even if you don't follow the lore of Greek mythology. Hercules' father is Zeus, and his mother is a human woman named Alcmene. This combination of a god and a human made Hercules an extremely strong being. The Nephilim also possessed extreme strength. However, there were different sizes of Nephilim giants. Some giants, such as the infamous Goliath, were 9 foot tall, while the early Nephilim giants were hundreds or even thousands of feet tall, reminiscent of the Greek Titans. The Book of Enoch says this about the women who gave birth to the first ever Nephilim giants, and they became pregnant, and they bare great giants whose height was 3,000 ells. Now, 1 ell is approximately 1.25 foot. That means 3,000 ells is approximately 11,250 feet. The Greek Titans were believed to be equally as massive. For instance, Atlas, one of the Titans, is famously known for holding up the heavens, suggesting an enormous size. Similarly, Cronus, the leader of the Titans, was often portrayed as a massive figure. The Greeks didn't have a specific measurement for their height, but they were certainly imagined as being much larger than ordinary beings, fitting their roles as primordial and elemental forces of nature. Something I must point out is how the Watchers in the Book of Enoch descended to a mountain known as Mount Hermon before they began to defile themselves with human beings. And the Greek gods resided on Mount Olympus. I can go all day making these comparisons, but let's look at the real question we're all wondering right now. Are the Greek gods actually fallen angels? Regardless of your faith, one thing we can all agree on is the fact that Greek mythology has a ton in common with biblical literature. And there clearly is a sign of influence that started these stories. Some of the Greek gods even look exactly like biblical angels. From a biblical perspective, the reason fallen angels were cast out of heaven was their desire to become like God. So when they came to earth, did their desire to be God change? Absolutely not. It actually heightened. The Book of Enoch describes how each of the fallen angels taught humanity forbidden heavenly secrets. And unsurprisingly by now, in Greek mythology, the gods were often involved in teaching or influencing humans in various ways. They provided wisdom, skills, and even moral lessons. But what came first? Greek mythology, or the Bible. They were roughly created around the same time, with Greek mythology being slightly older, if we consider the earliest written forms of Greek mythology and the Old Testament. Greek mythology in written form predates the Old Testament by a few centuries. Homer's epics, which contain many Greek mythological elements, were written in the 8th century BCE, while the earliest texts of the Old Testament were written down in the 12th to 5th centuries BCE. So Greek mythology's written records are generally a bit older, though the oral traditions underlying both are harder to date precisely. However, I've personally noticed some strange things about Greek gods. For one, if we are to believe that these two beliefs are in fact connected, that would make Zeus, which is the leader of the Olympian gods, match up with Satan, which is the leader of the fallen angels in the Bible, or even Samyaza, which is the leader of the Watchers in the Book of Enoch. What I find most odd about this is the mockery. Zeus is known as the god of lightning, and the Bible tells us when Satan fell, he fell to the earth like lightning. I just found that rather strange. Not to say I believe these two beliefs are exactly the same, I'm simply making the comparisons. I do, however, believe that since nearly every culture on Earth has some sort of story about gods or angels coming down from Earth and interacting with humans, that it actually happened. I mean, let's just think about it for a moment. Many cultures didn't even know of each other's existence. However, the same story is consistent. It all started in ancient Sumer, the place known for the oldest written language ever. The ancient Sumerian tablets tell its own story of Genesis, but instead of one god, there are multiple gods in this story, known as the Anunnaki. In the story, these mysterious deities, known as the Anunnaki, manipulated early human DNA with their own, just like we were told the Greek gods did, and just like we were told the fallen angels did. When we take a look at what the Anunnaki look like, they look exactly like a class of angels in the Bible known as the cherubim. Some of them have human faces and angel wings, while some have animal heads and the lower body of a bull. Just as the Bible describes cherubim angels, so do the Sumerian tablets. So, do you think these stories are all a part of one bigger story, written by different cultures? Or is it all completely unrelated? Are Greek gods actually the fallen angels? Let me know what you think in the comment section below.